Popsicles.
Light the
I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety black, blacker than black, black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm back. Yo, I'm black and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, because I'm black.
Welcome to Films in Black and White, everybody.
hello, everybody.
Neither one of us is black. I just want to make that very clear.
Just the two of us.
This is the end of Black History Month, going into Black History Year. So we just felt it appropriate that although Marcus is, out there doing his student affairs thing, that we just keep the energy going, doing the best we can.
We're trying to live on. We're trying to live on that spirit.
We're trying to persevere. Brian and I, shortly before we started this episode, were like, well, I don't know. Maybe he'll show up. Maybe he won't. We don't know. We'll find out. And so for those who are joining us, my name is Doug Wagner, a.k.a. Whiplash. I will explain more of that in a second. We're thrilled to be with you all. Just to kind of get this at the top of what we're going to cover today, we are diving into some Last of Us, episodes 6 and 7. We're also touching on some Star Wars. Brian is reporting live from Mandalore this week, which I am
live from Mandalore. It's desolate. There's nothing living here.
Something terrible happened here. We don't know what happened.
We don't know what.
So we've got that. We also have a couple pieces of news here and there that'll be fun to talk about. Marcus might join us. I'm not going to lie to you. We're not sure. Like, he might join us. He might not. He is currently living his best life over there doing his job. He had a late event, so he's working. He's making that bag. Yeah, and that's what we're really excited
He's
for.
doing it. He's doing it. Yeah, acting like this isn't. I mean, like, what's he doing?
Right. Yeah, he's got his priorities straight. Like, he's actively making sure he still can afford a place to live. But that's
I guess that's important.
I guess it's important.
Good point.
Damn you, capitalism. But Brian and I are here. And Brian, how are you, sir? How was the weekend? Just how you doing?
The weekend was good. We are cruising into our family's like birthday week. And Doug, you have a birthday coming up too. So
that I do. Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. And we got my wife's birthday on Friday. We got my son Parker's birthday on Tuesday, and then my birthday on Wednesday. So like we got to make sure we take care of my wife, and then we got to do the 4-year-old's party, and then somewhere in there I'm having a birthday, and then we're having like a big family party, and then my parents are coming in, so like we're getting ready for it.
Okay.
So we're like in big prep mode, and it was nice. My sister-in-law took our 2 oldest kids, so it was just me and Maggie, just like with a 1-year-old. It was a totally different world. So we got a whole
different vibe.
It
really is.
It really is. You can like toss a Lego to a 1-year-old and they're pumped. They're excited. Like, I'm good. I'm sad until they get bored of it. But you got the idea.
What's this? Can I build with this? No, you can just have that to hold. They're like, I don't have to give it back. You're like, no, you can just have it. They're like, this is the best thing I've ever had ever.
This sheet of paper, it's mine now. Excellent. Crinkle.
Fantastic. Very excited about it.
But Doug Whiplash Wagner, that's your little title here on the live stream. How are you?
Good, Brian. My name is Whiplash because we are at this point of time in the year where the weather just can't stay in its fucking lane.
No,
and
it refuses.
One day it's like, hey, guess what, man? Like, it's gonna be like 40 degrees outside. It might even get up to 50. And you're gonna go outside and you're gonna enjoy it. And then you wake up tomorrow and you're like, I'm ready for that 50. And they're like, well, you better go somewhere else because it's not fucking here anymore. It's now 30 and raining. And so it's just, we're at the whiplash time of year where it's like, we're all over the place. 1 minute you're doing one thing, next minute you're doing the other. There's really no better way to put it. And so that's just how I'm feeling. And that's just the general shtick of things today.
Yeah, no, I get it. We're definitely, at least in the North and the Midwest, we're in that zone where it's just like, I don't know. We don't really know if we're winter or spring yet. Like, stay tuned. It's a surprise every day.
We don't know.
I'm done with surprises. I've been in the dark for 3 months. I would like some warmth and sunlight, please.
Yeah, I'm over it, everybody. Like I'm ready for it not to be a thing anymore. But other than the weather, Brian, doing well, had a good weekend. I actually have
Good.
a quick like little mini review of an
Oh,
of a movie. So
oh,
Brittany
wait,
is feeling under the weather. So I
okay.
took the kids, Harper
Hope
and
she feels better.
Harrison. Yep, she's
Yeah,
doing much better now. Took
good.
them to a movie in a theater on Sunday.
Whoa,
Just the two of them on
what'd you
Sunday.
see?
We saw Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Now,
How was that?
Brian, this movie is not like fucking around. Like it's and it is not like it's not messing around at all.
In what sense? It looks like a children's movie. Like, how is it not messing? Like, how is it grabbing you by the collar, not messing
Okay.
around?
So there are several themes.
Okay.
By the way, Roman, Cochise Bear is a very different movie about a bear that exclusively listens to Audio Slave. Like that's what that is. It's not as good. It's much more of a bummer of a movie.
Yeah, for
But
sure. For
so
sure.
anyway, so took them to the theater. And
Yeah.
this movie is very good. So I don't want to give anything too major
Wow.
away.
Okay.
But first off, Puss in Boots has the premise is Puss in Boots has used up 8 of his 9 lives. So he has
Okay.
one left.
Okay.
And all of a sudden in a bar somewhere, this wolf shows up and he's like, "You want to just use up that last one? Like I'm ready to take you." And he's like, okay, assassin." And he runs away. And right away is very clear, not an assassin, actively supposed to be death. Like he's wearing a hood, he uses sides. And so this movie is about a cat that's basically grappling with the impending doom of its own like existence. And has to
Whoa.
and Brian and has to reevaluate what's important and what isn't. And
That is dark.
but you know what? The kids loved it. And
The
that's
kids, they love bleak existential dread. What can we say?
they love really dark, foreboding existential crisis. That's all that they love. And so,
Wow.
Brian, that's the thing about this movie. And
Huh.
you and I being parents, we joke around
Yes.
about this a lot. That like
Yes.
animated movies are oftentimes for more adults in terms of like content, in terms of like dialogue, in
Yeah.
terms of like things that you might hear off screen than it is for children. Children are
Right.
kind of sometimes there for like the bright lights and sound, like
The
to a
Super
certain
Mario
extent.
movie. Case in point.
Yeah,
Yep.
100%. But this is another example of like, yeah, kinda, because that
Yeah.
whole like existential crisis flew right over their heads, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it is hard getting older and having to evaluate those things. Yep, look at the cat. Like that's basically me in the theater. And so, yeah, it was good. I was surprised with how much I enjoyed it.
Look at the cat. Don't think about your impending end in this world of your fickle fortunes and any opportunities you've had that you might have missed or that they maybe won't come yet. Anyway, here's a cat.
Or the regrets for the life that you've lived. Like
Right.
that. It's like, oh my God.
Wow, they
Yeah,
really
that's-
wow. I had heard, so I had seen some stuff on Twitter about this, and like I didn't take it super seriously because it's like the internet, right? And I was like, hey,
Whoa,
this must
yeah.
be like a
How could you?
Well, I was like, this must be like a Morbius thing. Like people are just like hyping it up, or like, I don't know, maybe like some subset of people really like it. Hearing this though, I'm like on board now because that's a solid premise. And I'm surprised that's in a kid's movie. I appreciate whoever took the risk there.
Well, and Brian, the other thing that they did really well is I'm a sucker for like really good animation styles and
Oh, yeah.
blending animation
Same.
styles. And one of the things that I really appreciated, and for those just joining us, I'm talking about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I just want to make it really clear.
They're
Like,
oh,
I'm not talking about some like dark,
you mean
like
The Last of Us?
I'm not talking about The Last of Us. Sandra Wonenberg. Yeah, this is, I mean, great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Loved Puss in Boots too. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was so surprising. And that's what I was talking about is, so Chandra's dropping into our chat on Facebook. We'll talk about Pinocchio here in a minute, but it's,
Yeah.
I was just so surprised that I enjoyed it, but the animation style was really cool. They blended
Yeah.
that like old school, like Shrek vibe that we have with
Right.
some really cool, like almost like Japanese anime influenced moments as well,
What?
segments of it as well. So it's like it is such like
Okay.
artistically, it is
I
just well done.
I feel like I need to like run out and see this movie now. Like you have convinced me, my man.
And here's the other thing. If you thought we are so glad to go to the Coyote Twin. That is Marcus and I's theater.
Yes.
So one of the things that I really like think that they also did well is you're like, okay, it's Puss in Boots. I don't know, 2, 3. I don't know. Like
I don't even know.
I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you. But you know what happened?
So
At the end of this movie, and I'm not giving anything away, the end of the movie, they're sailing off on a ship. He's like, it's time to go see some old friends. And they're sailing into what looks like the port of Far, Far Away from Shrek.
oh, awesome.
Could there be another Shrek movie? Who knows? But you guys, like I was genuinely shocked with how much I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah.
I'm glad you did that because I feel like it released in December, right? I think was the
like
first
December
release
like
date.
13th or something like
Yeah,
that.
like it felt like that counter programming for like
Uh-huh.
Avatar because Avatar was Avatar was supposed to be for everybody, and I feel like that movie completely flew under the radar for so many people, myself included.
Well, and Avatar ate up so much like bandwidth, right? Like everybody
Yeah.
was like, "Can you believe?" I mean, it's 3 hours. How could you not eat up, that much like discussion time? And this was
Right.
one of those that just like, do you not have 3 hours, or do you have little kids? Go see
Yeah.
this. Both are
Yeah.
valid. So
Totally.
there you have it.
Totally.
But Brian, we
Yes.
have a whole ass episode to get to. And so before we dive into Catch That Quotable, I want to remind everybody that you can go and catch us on our social medias on Instagram at Films in Black and White,
Yes.
on Facebook at Films in Black and White, at Twitter in Films B_W, and on TikTok at Films in Black and White. We got some good stuff
Yes.
going there, so check us out there. But Brian, we have a
Yes.
quote this week, and so we are going to play Catch That Quotable.
All right, let's do it. You and me, man, we're doing it.
The terrific two doing our best to hold it down. I was going to try to give you the silky sounds of Doug Wagner,
Oh,
but it wasn't going to work.
you know what? I'm gonna leave that to Marcus and the music that he
yeah,
does. I don't.
He's
no one
better.
wants. Yeah,
He's better.
We're both speechless.
He's better suited for it, is what it is. He's better
like
suited
it.
for it.
I like it.
Brian,
Yes,
are you ready for this week's quote?
I'm ready, Doug. Lay it on me, man.
Okay. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Yep. Mm-hmm. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. If you are watching this and you're not Roman Myers, feel free to drop, because he's the one who submitted the quote. Like, if you're anyone and you're not Roman Myers, feel free to drop your guess for what quote that is in the chat. Brian, this feels like a movie that is very much like about female empowerment. So the vibes I get are,
really,
was this said in Legally Blonde or Legally Blonde 2?
This
I don't think so, but it feels that way.
It does have that vibe, but it also feels like a little sports movie to me. But maybe I'm there because we had Division 3 as the movie last week.
Is just that one. I could talk at length about the clip that we were sent shortly after.
Yes. I don't know. I'm getting like the Blind Side vibes, and I wish Marcus was here to comment on that because I'm sure he has opinions to share about that movie and Sandra Bullock. I won't do it because I'm not Marcus. But what's that?
I'm closer, Brian.
You're closer. You're closer. Thank you, Roman, in the chat.
Yeah, thanks for the hint, Roman.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. It's not Devil's Wears Prada.
No,
because it's not. Because Devil's Wears Prada is not. It's like female empowery, but it's not like. It's not someone in that circle lifting her up. This feels like somebody in that circle, like lifting this person up.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go Legally Blonde 2 because I don't remember that movie as well.
Okay. I agree with you. It has Devil Wears Prada vibes, but like the theme of Devil Wears Prada was like Anne Hathaway being like, I don't want your life. like
Oh yeah, yeah,
like she does it herself, right? She has that
yeah.
self-discovery herself. So like I don't know. I feel like Aaron Brockovich. I don't feel like
Oh,
that's.
that's a guess.
I, it, I'm along those lines of thinking based on what Roman said. I'm on a Julia Roberts kick. I don't think it's Pretty
Okay,
Woman either. I'm
that
waiting
would
for
be
this.
that would be a very out of place quote for Pretty Woman.
I guess that's true. Big, huge mistake, right? Is what I mean, one of the like bangers of
Brian,
that.
you apparently, according to Roman, just gave yourself a clue.
Jeez. Man, this is like a mental game. I play with myself every week. Every week I do this. I like psych myself out here.
Yep. All right.
I don't know, man. I'm really gonna have to like pick one right now. Man, I'm going Aaron Brockovich.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
All
locked
right.
in.
All right. Well, Brian, this is the Princess Diaries.
Oh, Anne
There you
Hathaway!
go. Yep. But it is also a quote that was made by Eleanor Roosevelt. So
Excellent.
that was Brian. You named an actress in the movie, like you literally.
Wow,
named somebody who was
incredible.
in it.
So I was close. I was banging on the door.
You're really
I just
banging
didn't
down
know
that
which
door.
door.
Good guess. I mean, that was fun to unpack, though. Like the Princess
Yes.
Diaries is one of those movies that I think I watched with like a group of friends when I was in high school or college, and then never revisited. So
I watched it late one night. I remember at somebody's apartment back when I was an undergrad, and they're like, "You've never seen Princess Diaries 2?" And I'm like, "I no." And they're like, "We have to correct this right away." And I'm like, "No one has ever said this to me in my life ever."
I'm always surprised by those moments. Like I'm always surprised by people
Yeah.
who are like, "Oh my goodness, you haven't seen Spaceballs? We're gonna fix that right now." And I'm like, what do you mean like right now? Like I don't know about
Right.
you, Brian, but like I have to be like I have to be in like a mood for certain movies. Like stuff has to like
Oh yeah.
the spirit has to come down and be like, that's what you should watch. That's how you're
Yeah.
feeling right now. And so somebody who's like, no, we're gonna fix it. It's like, oh, I don't like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, not like this at all.
Oh, please no.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, like, also I had more time, like, in my undergrad years. It was like, "Hey, you just wanna kill 2 hours?" And you're like, "Yeah, hell yeah, I do." And, like,
Do
now
I?
I got 3 kids and a wife. It's like, "Hey, you wanna kill 2 hours?" It's like, I have to check with, like, a NASA list of, like, recommendations before I can even commit 1
Let's
hour of
see.
my time.
Let's see. I mean, the kids, I mean, they just went down, so it's
Well,
2 hours. And,
rockets go.
okay, well, the laundry also has to be full. I mean, guys,
Primary ignition.
I got 45 minutes.
Like, generously.
You're like, wait, they're gonna take a 2-hour nap. I said, yeah, I know. I got like actually, you wanna know what? It's probably closer to 20 minutes. That's just the way it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Brian, we have a whole podcast to get to,
We
as I've
do.
said before, and
do.
we are going to dive into episodes 6 and 7 for the HBO series The Last of Us. So for those of you who are watching, or for those of you who are listening, please put a pin in this if you have not seen either episode 6 or 7 for The Last of Us, because we're gonna spoil the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into it. So put a pin in it, come back later. There will be timestamps in the show notes, so please check those out there. Brian, this series continues to like impress and continue to like I think we have said it several times on this podcast when we've covered this show, like the level that it has put humanity first and not made it about zombies is incredible. And I am like so excited to talk about it with you. Thoughts on episodes 6 and 7?
I mean, episode
6 first.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I enjoy how they did the time jump. So it opens with, hey, 3 months have passed. Like they have been on this journey, which I think was really good with the way episode 5 ended, which was incredibly intense and sad and bleak. So with Henry and Sam. So basically, like I think, if you were given the quick summary here, this is the episode where Joel finds his brother. and they
Yep.
find Jackson, which is a communist commune in the middle of Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hidden, I guess, for all intent and purpose. And that was the reason that Joel's brother hasn't been communicating. Basically, it was like, hey, we got to
Yeah.
keep this place. We got Tommy. I just remembered his name. Tommy hasn't
You're
been
fine.
communicating because they're trying to keep this place off the radar. And it's like a wonderfully beautiful, picturesque, like mountain community.
Yeah.
And it feels really cozy and really safe. One thing that I really liked about it, as I'm doing the quick summary here, is that it's focused more in like a suburb of some town, which I
Mm-hmm.
thought makes a lot of sense. In the game, it's just like, hey, Jackson's like just out in the middle of nowhere, and it's a city, and you're just kind of like, how do you have all these things if you're in the middle of nowhere? Don't worry about it. I liked how they made that adjustment here for the show. Again, this adaptation keeps showing that they know the right changes to make for something that's just feels super grounded now. It
Yeah.
feels more grounded than the game, which is weird to say. So, essentially, So essentially, we got Tommy and Joel here, and and Joel's like, I need you to take her, and he's like, I got a kid on the way, which is another reveal.
Yeah.
Just really adding to those stakes that Tommy's really trying to just settle down and I mean, it looks like this is utopia. This is it
Yeah.
in this type of hellish scape of fungus zombies. And so after a series of events, Joel does keep taking Ellie along the way, and I feel
Yeah.
like the big finale here is Joel and Ellie run into bandits. Joel gets stabbed, and it's all on Ellie, and that's how that episode ends. Which
Yeah.
woof, man, I mean, like,
Talk about the weight for like
oh,
a middle school kid, like to have to this person that's brought her across the
yeah,
world, like across the like Mad Max Thunderdome hellscape, like, and suddenly the person that you like looked at as the person who was, your partner and someone that you've developed like a really strong relationship with
yeah,
is now out of commission. Yeah, that's hard. I think episode 7 did a good job of like picking that up
yes,
and playing with that more. In terms of episode 6, question for you.
sure,
As I've kind of dove into this a little bit more, I'm seeing some comments, and again, this is because I didn't finish the game, so I have to make that very
right,
clear.
okay,
Um, I'm seeing a lot of comparisons between Joel in the game and Joel in the show, and it
sure,
seems like they're a little bit different. The feeling that I'm getting is that Joel in the game is a little bit more like hero in the terms of like,
yeah,
let me go take on these folks. And this one,
yes.
he's given a little bit more of like an edge. Does that feel accurate to you based on your knowledge of the game, or where does that play out?
Yeah, I feel like the Joel that we see in the game is far more vulnerable than the one we saw in the video game.
Okay.
And I feel like for the way you tell a story, it makes sense to me because in the video game, you are only playing as Joel for like the majority of the
Mm-hmm.
game. And so there's just not a lot of moments for that character to emote because you're controlling him.
Right.
And then on top of it, when they do get those moments, a lot of them are given, like a lot of those cinematic elements are given to Ellie, and
Yeah.
for good reason, because Ellie is like this emotional anchor,
Yep.
basically pulling you through this entire story. So it's a lot of it just reacting to Ellie. And in the show, you don't have to like control Joel. You don't have to keep spending time with him. You actually get time with Ellie, a little bit more evenly divided. And so you actually get to see Joel like have feelings about stuff without hitting people in the face with bricks.
Hitting square to make sure that
Yeah,
you time that perfectly.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you better time it right, or else that clicker's gonna
You
get
have
you.
to start
Yeah,
over.
yeah. Something this show doesn't do well. The time Joel's in a hallway and he just can't figure out how to take down 2 clickers at once, and you keep seeing that for 20 minutes. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
it's a
That
whole
that
thing.
that did happen though. The same hallway.
Yeah.
But no, I would say that you're getting a more like you're getting more emotions from Joel in this TV show, and I hope you would in a TV
Okay.
show like this
Oh, of
too,
course. I mean,
because like nobody, I don't know, you need that, and Pedro Pascal can give it too, which is the other
mhm.
thing here is like Pedro Pascal is just bringing his own element to Joel, and like it shows, and it's totally for the better.
We are seeing more and more and more of him. Like, I don't know about you, but he's like showing
Yep.
everywhere in
Yep.
the algorithm knows that I want some more Pedro Pascal in my
Yes.
life, and it's showing me
Yes.
everything. And the more I see him, the more I'm like, God, I want to have like a drink with that guy. Like, he just seems like such
Yeah.
like a laid back dude.
He
Like,
seems so chill.
yeah.
I mean, he is definitely having a moment. Like,
Oh yeah.
back when Keanu Reeves had like, it was like that string of 3 movies that came out.
It
I
was
think it was like
Matrix
Matrix.
Resurrections, it was
Um,
John Wick,
yeah.
and it was what was the other one that happened at that time? It was either
Wasn't
like Bill and Ted or it was there was another one that I think he like
he
did a
was in the
cameo in.
video game. He was in the video
Oh,
game
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk,
Yep.
and it was like the Keanu-sans was happening, and it was like, man, you're just like, it is all about
Mhm.
you right now. I feel like that's what's happening to Pedro Pascal because he's
Very
got,
true.
I mean, he has all this stuff going for him right now. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel like episode 6 did a really good job of setting the emotional table and the
Yeah.
emotional stakes for like, why is it this way and
Yeah.
why are we doing it this way? And like I think this show that I've always felt about the world of Last of Us is like, if you found a safe place, there's
Mhm.
no way in hell you would get me to leave. Like, at all. Like, Joel and Ellie are like, we're gonna go west, and I'm like, absolutely not. This
I'm
place
not
has
going to do that.
food and electricity and warmth and a community. They're like, they're celebrating Christmas. Like, nobody's doing that out east. Like, so I'm
Well,
staying here. I'm not going anywhere.
Ryan, the thing that I kept thinking about like over and over and over again is that my like dumb lizard brain would try to
Sure.
like justify being somewhere cold where I'm like, no, that's where I should be because they don't get fungus. Like there's like
I
that part,
mean,
like, hey, why are you guys going west? Go north. Fuck it. Like live as far north as possible. You've got trees for miles. Just cut
true,
them down and burn
true,
them. Like there's a
true.
part of me that's like, yeah, there's no fungus up there. Like,
Yeah.
I would be the person that would be like, you know, hauling bodies to the fire pit, being like, did you hear about Canada? It's too cold, no fungus. I would be the one, the side character
Yes.
that gives
Yes.
inspiration to the main character that they should go to Canada. Like,
Oh,
well, I
yeah.
heard when
Yeah.
we were
Like
doing
that.
our tire wrangling, to put on cars,
Of course. Gotta recycle that rubber.
for Fedra,
Yeah.
that there's no fungus in cold temperatures.
I mean, it
So
makes sense.
makes sense to me.
No, I mean, I made that assumption when I played the game, but then also they were like, "Oh, the winter swarms are coming," and I'm like, I don't even understand what that
Don't
means.
know what
But
that
I mean,
is.
I guess at that point, 30 years into an apocalypse, you just have swarms of fungus people. That's just normal.
I guess I need a
I don't know.
scientist. I need a botanist to come on and explain this to me.
Yeah, most definitely. Did you? I mean, I feel like I took up a lot of oxygen here. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about with episode 6 or something that stuck out to you?
I think there are a couple of things that I thought were really interesting. One, I think that the show continues to show us people what I appreciate, and this is almost a comment about 6 and 7 that I think are
Yeah.
well placed, is that the show's doing this job of like, here's someone that was able to make it like through their commitment or through their relationship. The show does this thing of like throughout it, showing us relationships that people have that are both successful and unsuccessful at helping them through this particularly trying time. Almost to
Yes.
kind of highlight this point of like, it's not what you do, it's who you do it with to a
Yeah.
certain extent. And sometimes like the underlying motivation, especially with the episode of like around Kansas City of them trying to get out. I think that was episode 4.
Yeah.
Of them trying to get out. So there's this whole like underpinning of like the relationship that you have is and the amount of trust that you have with that person is there, because Tommy being in a relationship where he's having a kid, these are people who have made it. Like they've been able to carve out and find a life. And yes, Jackson is a safe community, but they're still able to make it. And so I think that there's a lot of that there to like kind of, and you saw that with Frank, you saw that with Henry. Like there are pieces of this that come through that are like, yeah, it's the level of relationship and trust that you have with the person that you're with. It's trying to give us like a something to think about in the long run about the company
Oh,
we keep. And I think it'll become more apparent as we continue on through the show.
well,
So
and this has been, I feel like, discussed a little bit on social media, but like I also feel like in the limited time that we've been with Joel and Ellie, Jackson is like the only community that is like somewhat stable or like even just like
yep.
not terrible. And I'm not here to be like, obviously communism is good, but like obviously
But
like
obviously, yeah,
like the collectivist nature
obviously,
that
yeah.
they have there is working for them. And it is the only community that this show has showed you that is like, okay, like they have some of it figured out. Like
Mhm.
they've got this part figured out. And
Yeah.
the only alternatives we've seen are like Fedra and a reaction to Fedra. And that's pretty much bit. And then like, I mean, Bill and Frank, but Bill and Frank, that's a special
They're
case,
their
right?
own beast.
Exactly. So like of the other of the 4 total communities we've seen, it's like, yeah, Jackson's like clearly the best off. I do think
We
that is a really cool comparison and really cool way to put that in the story.
Weird, Brian, when people start thinking about each other and not about themselves, or in some cases, how much
Yeah.
money they have in their pocket, or how much shit they have,
Or how much
w-
power they have.
or how much authority or expertise or power they
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Weird how suddenly some of this stuff just sort of works itself out.
Are you ready for this transition?
Brian, I am ready for this transition.
It is a great shot and chaser to compare it to episode 7 when
Indeed.
Ellie is clearly figuring everything out for herself. And she's like, well, if Fedra wasn't here, it'd all fall apart. And you're like, nah, man. Nah,
No,
like
that's
Jackson's just doing just fine in the in the middle of a
that's
frozen wasteland.
That yeah, that's not how this works at all.
Yeah.
Like, and I think even the Kansas City setup,
Yeah.
I think without, and again, this is sort of like the genius of the writing of the show.
Yeah.
Like, without that Kansas City setup where you have someone where it was like, no, Fedra wasn't the problem. It was
Yeah.
trying to corral everybody and set up a system that was inherently corrupt is the problem. Like, and so I think that episode highlights that point so well in 6 and 7. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you call it. Call it Fedra, call it Fireflies, call
Right.
it the US government, call it whatever you want. It's going to be a problem.
Right. Well, and I think the way they ended episode 6 too, of like Ellie being like, I don't understand, like what was it like back then, and
Mhm.
Joel trying to summarize it like, well, there's a group of people that wanted to own everything, and there was a group of people that wanted to own nothing, and I enjoyed how ambivalent he was about it, whether it was
Mhm.
like, I would have never been able to influence those decisions, or it doesn't matter anymore, or like I don't really care. Like I genuinely don't care.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really great way to show that, because I mean Ellie has never, and episode 7 did such a great job of showing this. Ellie has never had any type of structure in her life, save for Fedra, but like that's what is that really? It's more of a system, or like
Mhm.
an authoritative like adjudicator just telling her what to do. Not really as much of like, hey, here's someone that's going to love you no matter what. Like never
Right.
having someone like that in her life and only having these institutions clearly has made an impact on her, and
Yeah,
how
dude.
she has had those relationships, and how, I mean, she's everybody she's ever loved or ever cared about has died a terrible death, it
A
seems.
horrible death, like a horrible, painful death. Yeah. Brian, I think the other thing that's interesting is I thought the comment that Ellie made, like in episode 7, they talked
Yeah.
a little bit about propaganda, and she goes on this whole thing of like,
Yes.
you can
Yes.
call this whatever you want, like it's
Right.
propaganda bullshit. Like that's what that is. And so I think
Yeah.
it's really, I think that, like, again, you put it so well, like a shot and a chaser, like a shot of like what the reality is when people stop thinking about themselves and start thinking
Right.
about each other. And then you couple that with this, like, everybody was doing it at the time. Like, it's when you have a power vacuum,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
people try to step up and fill it, and they're going to try to tell you that they're doing it for this reason or that reason, but whatever
Yep.
reason they justify it with, there's still a sense of propaganda to it. So I thought that was really
Yeah.
well done.
Yeah.
I also really appreciated that like we got to see more of Ellie in episode 7.
Oh,
We got to
just
see how
all
much
Ellie.
she knew and didn't know. Like the whole electric stairs thing was really cool. Like the whole like mall scene had me kind of bugging out because it was like I remember going to malls when I was younger because they were a big deal, like, and walking around just because I had nothing better to do on a Saturday. Like it,
Oh yeah.
I remember those things. So like that was a really cool moment for me to kind of see like what they did with it and kind of like the way that again their relationship like played out, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, and I man, the mall, the setting for the mall, I thought, I mean, and they've done this in the game. It was DLC, so not everybody who played the game got to play this part of it, but um, eh, I think there's so many layers on top of it. I think the first thing that stood out to me though was like the lighting in this episode. Like the theater geek in me was like, somebody worked really hard to get all of this lighting just perfect for like Storm Reed's face, who I cannot remember who she played, but Ellie's friend. From, by the way, A Wrinkle in Time. You might remember.
There you go.
And just like one of the first shots is like this purple neon on her face, and it looks perfect. Like you see her face in the purple neon, you're like, it's not washed out. It's not like overdoing it.
Yeah.
It's this excellent just kind of vibe of, like malls were like about excess. They still are, but right, we don't have as many. I mean, we could talk about that.
They're about excess if they have all their buildings filled and there's they're kind of about excess.
Well, yeah, and this definitely took like the heyday idea of a mall to absolute heart. And I enjoyed that, and I think it was, I don't know, it was just such a nice, you could even call this a bottle episode in my opinion.
A little bit.
There was nothing you could cut and trim everything around everything that's happening with Joel trying to survive. I also loved that Ellie's frenetically just pulling drawers out, by the way. That was really well directed. Like, and it was funny because I was watching this with Maggie. She's like, I can't even see like what she's even doing. And I'm like, honestly, like if the one person you've been like you're looking for anything, like you're rabid at that point. I thought that was really well done. And then the mall slowed everything down just to a wonderful pace to make you, I don't know, you got to have this intimate, like caring moment, but then it's like you had this like rubber band being stretched inside you the whole time because you knew something bad was going to happen.
Yeah, you knew it was going to snap. And you knew it was going to snap. You knew it was going to snap the louder they got. Like, and that's the thing for me. Like I think this makes me feel so like I love talking about like sound because sound for some reason like hits me a little bit different. So the whole time they're walking through this mall and I'm like, y'all are fucking loud. Like you would need to be like, I know that you're trying to show off and have this moment before you leave and go to Atlanta, but like it's just, I need you to be quieter because you're too comfortable.
Well, and I thought they did that so well because like I felt the same way. I was like, I know how this ends.
Yep.
And you're being super loud and you think it's safe. And then when they're like, oh, you're sleeping here. And I'm like, of course you would think it. Of course you would act like this as a kid. I shouldn't say that. She's 17, but whatever. As a young adult, maybe that's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
I understand how you would act this way if you've been sleeping there for weeks and you're like, it's safe. Trust me. Like I've been sleeping here. Nobody's here. That was a great way to handle that. Even though us, the viewer, was like, you're like, this is such a bad idea.
Please don't do that. Yeah. Yeah. Brian, I think the other thing that like I really appreciated was to your point of like, this
will show up to the last day of Black.
Well, this motherfucker comes walking in.
Y'all thought I wasn't gonna be here on the final day of Black History Month?
You mean on
known as Negro History Week? Huh?
He's coming back full force, everybody. We got Marcus back. He's back in the building.
Hey, y'all.
Black History Kang. Just showing up out of nowhere.
Negro History Week. Yeah. I don't know what to do with that information. Oh, my God.
I'm here.
Marcus, thank you.
Where's Marcus? I'm here, Roman Myers. I'm here.
He's here.
I'm here.
Yeah, you must have heard us because basically at the beginning, Brian and I went like, I don't know, he might show up. We don't know.
We're
He
gonna
kinda
find out.
does whatever he wants. So, Marcus, how are you, sir?
We good. We just came from a my last Black History Month event of the month, and it was a Black History Month showdown that started at 6:30 p.m. and ended around 8:30.
Wow.
Well,
It was
kudos.
intense. Really
Congratulations.
one-on-one. No, it was a congratulations to the people that competed. They really showed out today. But
That's awesome.
I had
That's
to-
awesome. That sounds like a great
you know,
event.
It was
It
awesome.
sounds
It was
fantastic.
awesome. What y'all talking
excellent.
about?
We are talking episode 6 and 7 of The Last of Us.
Oh
sir.
God, man.
So, what did you think? Bring us up to speed. We kind of touched on episode 6 a little bit, but what did you think of episode 6 and 7?
6 and 7. Six was good because 6 is what I think, as somebody who's a fan of Last of Us, 6 was where you start seeing the relationship that I'm familiar with between Ellie
Yeah.
and Joel start forming.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And then you get to also see the separation between Tommy and Joel a little bit, because it was like
Yeah.
that was Joel's only family.
Yeah.
And so he's been looking for Tommy this whole time, just to find out the one person that wants to be with him, no matter how much danger it is, has been Ellie. Like, she
Yeah.
doesn't care about any of it. So it kind of, to me, it sounds cliche, but blood isn't the only thing that makes you family.
That's
true.
a great point.
And
That's
so
a great
I
point.
really enjoy. If I'm honest, between 6 and 7, I liked 6 because it was just enough of a cliffhanger to lead me into
Oh man.
7, which I feel like maybe top 3 episodes of the season so far for me.
I mean,
For sure.
I can't, like, this season. I don't know how you make this good of a season of
I don't know.
television. Like,
Consistent.
this is untouchable. Like, this
Yeah.
is getting to untouchable territory if they stick the landing, and
Yeah.
I don't see how they're gonna do it.
There's 2 episodes left. So,
I mean,
something would have to go pretty off the rails, I feel
Yeah.
like.
You know how I know it was good? 7 was so. Have y'all talked about 7 at all?
We
We're
just
in-
start, we
we're
really
basically just in the middle
started,
of
to be
it.
honest.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, 7 was so good I rewatched it. As soon
Oh
as it
my
went off, I
God.
rewinded. Like, I had to what was the song in the
Take on Me.
Take On
Oh yeah.
Me?
by
Oh, yeah.
Aha.
The use of that song, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
I mean,
Go ahead, Brian.
I was gonna say I really liked Riley. I think her performance was it stand out, and Ellie, like Bella Ramsey, also got to stand out. I just think that this was, I mean, they had full runway to do their thing, and they did not miss a beat. They absolutely crushed this opportunity to show this dynamic, to show why Riley was doing these things and why we should care about her, and then also like, oh, like Ellie is the way she is because she's lived a terrible life, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
That's
had
the,
experienced a lot of loss.
well,
Or
and
had
that's,
never experienced loss.
and that's the thing that I think it's easy to forget if you don't have this context, because when you
Yeah.
go back and you rewatch all of your interactions with Ellie after seeing episode 7, it changes your perspective with a little bit of the character itself, because you understand the terrible life she's had, the fact that she has to sort of make sort of these jokes and these quips to
Mhm.
relate to people, but also to a certain extent to keep them at arm's length, so that way if they
Yeah.
do die, which she's experienced over and over and over again, it's not as a traumatic of a loss. So there's a lot there.
Yeah, I like 7 because I really like those episodes where you can do a 2-person
Mhm.
episode,
Yep.
not one scene, but like one set. It's in a mall,
Yes.
so that allows you so many different like places to be at, right? But you have 2 people, 1 monster. And
Yes.
it's a
Mhm.
simple relationship. Here's one of the other things I really enjoy about the show. I did not read up about anything about who was casted in Last of Us, right? So
Yeah.
I had no idea Stormy Reed
Oh,
was
yeah.
the one that was walking through the window. And
Yeah.
when she turned around, to me, that's a big reveal because I know who Stormy Reed is. I watch
Mhm.
pretty much a lot of movies she's in.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
feel I feel like she's been in so many high profile things, but she's still at that stage of like, I've seen her before. And it's
Mhm.
like, I guarantee if you watch Wrinkle of Time, you know who but she's also been in so much other stuff too. But I feel like that's her best known role. Man, I just I don't know, like this is a show about the end of the world, and there was literally one monster that
One.
was just like you didn't even really see the monster. It was just like the monster's here, have fun in the mall, and like that. I don't know. That's the thing that this show does so well, is that it doesn't. Poor Walking Dead. You're my punching bag. Walking Dead, man, they just build whole stories around like, we got to get to the hospital, but there's a bunch of melting zombies. And you're like, oh, melting zombies, no way. And they're like, commercial break. And then they go back to melting zombies. And like, that's the shtick. That's the shtick of the show, which is fine. But with Last of Us, it like looks at that and it's like, what if these two people have emotional turmoil and there's a zombie involved? Like, it's just, they kind of flip the script, and which is why I'm enamored with it.
Again, Walking Dead is, what would you do if you felt you had to face 200 walking zombies to get yourself to where you needed to be? And The Last of Us is, do you remember that friend that you don't talk to anymore?
You should call them.
You should fucking pick up the phone, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Enjoy that.
That's true.
You never know when a monster's going to come out of the cloud. Yeah.
Brian, you had a
maybe
tweet.
the monster is you.
Oh, damn.
Deep, man. I don't like that. I don't like thinking about myself.
Brian, you had a tweet that I thought was interesting. Why didn't you want Riley? Why didn't you want them to show Riley turning?
Oh man, I think it's really impressive this show didn't have a whole sequence with like Riley turning and Ellie being like, I'm immune. Just because I just feel like general audiences would need that. And I'm glad that it didn't, and it challenged the like. I feel like it's a challenging thing because Ellie has to deal with that, right? And I think it was a bold choice not to include Riley turning, because that's obviously influential and it is obviously foundational to who Ellie is. And something that Maggie pointed out is that like when Joel's like, oh, is that your first kill? And it's like, and she's like, no, not really. And she's evasive. And we think it's like, oh, she's being a teenager. And then you're like, oh,
got it.
I
didn't think about that.
I didn't either. And she was like, no, man. Like, no, like I was talking about the episode with her and she like stopped me and she's like, no, that was her first kill. Like, that's what she meant. And I'm like,
fuck.
Oh, and it's the environmental storytelling. Yeah. Like, right. Like we think she's being this jerk-hole teenager. And you're like, okay, whatever. Just shut up and like, let's get out of the city. Nope. There's a whole chasm of buried trauma there for her, and she doesn't want to talk about her first kill, and it comes off as if she's trying to be evasive, which
I didn't even think about that.
Like that is
did not think about
phenomenal acting and storytelling, and it's really hard to play that off, and they did it masterfully.
Damn, I did not think about any of that.
I mean, go back to, I think it's episode, I want to say it's episode 4. And and that's when he asks her. And more to your point, though, I don't think we needed to see Riley turning. We know what that looks like. Maybe we wanted to see Ellie being like, oh, I'm immune. But we already know that information as the viewer. And the story's there to show like, hey, like this is, and I said this earlier, but like this is how Ellie became the Ellie we know her. She was, she's a jerk for a reason.
I also don't wonder if there's any way, like if you're thinking of like, if you're a show producer and you are, I almost like I think it's a preservation of your choice to a certain extent. Like you already showed this seemingly like little kid turning after this emotional moment in the hotel. I almost think like if you're going to show every person turning and you want the same emotional response, you kind of have to raise the stake.
Yeah.
I do think, Marcus, it's scarcity. I think it's if you can just limit the amount that you have to see it, it makes when it happens so much more emotionally draining.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I like that episode. I know for some folks, I was talking with some friends and they were like, that episode was really slow. And it was, I don't know why we had to have this like pit stop with Ellie. And I'm like,
no,
cool. Knowing how part 2 ends, I'm like, no, you need this. This is Ellie 101. And if you don't have this stuff in part 2 doesn't connect. I'm really glad they included it.
want to give a quick shout out to
Yeah.
Vermilion Theaters, our local Vermilion Theaters in town here, saying, leaving a comment on our Facebook. I think it could be important to see how Marlene finds Ellie, though.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how they do that. I can't remember Marlene's fate.
I think well, and the show might make it different because you didn't see it in the like in the game. It's just like, hey, I'm here, and then in like the show, or in the game, it's hey, I'm here, and then in the show, it was like I've been shot.
Yeah.
So, also funny thing in that episode is like when Ellie and Riley are talking, and Riley's like, I don't know, some lady, she was 40 or 50.
Yeah,
and
40
like,
or 50.
Are you talking about Marlene?
Like,
she's
that's messed up, man. But
I mean, to be fair, Harper thinks that I'm 50, so the evaluation of some to be able to determine age, is very difficult.
They're sheltered kids in a federal like training facility. They don't know how
they're not
anybody is.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. 7 is so good. The ending of 7. So to tell that story, I like that they didn't just include a backstory for Ellie, just to include it like in this episode for me, right? That the end result was Ellie remembering this moment and then not quitting and giving up on Joel. Like,
I mean, everybody else in her life has died.
Yep.
Like,
and she went back, even though Joel pushed a grown man, said go. She trusts Joel. She usually listens to Joel this whole time they've been together. Yeah. And she made the decision not to quit on him. That was that was beautiful.
That's a special moment.
No, it is.
Man, can I play a game with y'all? What are we going? What are we talking about next?
I mean, the next thing is Brian has to report live from Mandalore. As far as what's happening with Star Wars. So, Brian, we're having we finally got a connection. It was hard to establish one. Brian, you're there on Mandalore right now. Tell me, Brian, what are you seeing? What are you experiencing? What are the civilians saying?
Yeah, so there's none here. They're all dead. I'm standing on the bones of all of the Mandalorians. There's some battle droids though. They look lost. I think they're here from another.
Well, Brian,
another conflict.
You're gonna get an interview with them. I trust you. You're an outstanding reporter. You'll do what you can.
Where's your lightsaber proof vest? Like when the reporters always wear bulletproof vests when they're on CNN. They're like, we're in the middle of the
ghost
battlefield.
of Darth Maul just rises up out of the ashes. No, they just keep saying Roger, Roger. It's really weird to get an interview with them. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we have a Star Wars news roundup. It's basically a mini roundup. I'm going to condense 3 news items and I'm going to put it into like the span of our regular 1 news item. And then we can just go from there. So the Mandalorian's coming out this week. I don't know if anybody knows that. I bet you do though, if you're on the internet and have any type of social media presence. So the first thing they've been doing the press junket, and one of the first things that basically a lot of folks were talking about was that Mandalorian season 4 is already written, and it was written to fit in with Ahsoka and other active shows that are either filming or in development. So basically, this is Jon Favreau saying, and I got this from Entertainment Weekly. We'll put the link in our episode description. Yeah. But essentially, Jon Favreau saying like, hey, we have this planned out. We know where we're going. Like,
don't panic.
But all we need, they have the entire season written, and they said they just need to shoot it, which gives me a lot of confidence with season 3. So that's a first piece of news.
Now, Brian, do you think that we're gonna get an offshoot to the like a Jabba the Hutt storyline like halfway through, like just 1 episode, and it's all about the plan?
I don't know, man. I think anything's on the table because like if you look at the other 2 season premieres of Mandalorian, like there's always been some reveal at the end. For the season 1, it was Grogu. For season 2, it was Boba Fett. So I'm waiting for people to watch the episode, and then the end, you're just going to see some boots of somebody we know, and everyone's going to be like, "What?" And then that's what we talk about for a week.
Yeah, Brian, I say that tongue in cheekly because, and Brian's dying, and that's why you can't hear him. But like I say that sort of like tongue in cheekly because most of Book of Boba Fett, or at least there were 2 episodes of Book of Boba Fett where it was like, hey, did you get tired of Boba Fett? Don't worry, the Mandalorian's here. Like,
Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett is just so strange to me because it's like they didn't even trust their own material. And then now, if you've only watched The Mandalorian, you're gonna tune in and be like, wait, why is Mandalorian like why are him and Grogu together? Like the last we left them, Luke Skywalker took him. So I'm curious how those viewers are gonna feel about it.
Yeah, the people who didn't watch Book of Boba Fett are going to be like, what? Like, what happened?
Yeah. Well, and I think that like dovetails really nicely into this other news item. So basically they were like, that was something that came up in the interview with Empire. And they were like, hey, so like, what do you think, like people should do if they didn't watch Book of Boba Fett? And he's like, oh yeah, we're going to have like recap videos on Disney Plus. And then, like you can just go to YouTube or go to other, go to the community and they'll have recap videos. And I don't really recall any directors or anybody being like, yeah, just like, if you haven't seen the story, just like go online. It's just like, how, like, he wasn't even like, oh, go watch Book of Boba Fett, or like, oh, go watch episode 6 of Book of Boba Fett and you'll understand everything. It's very strange, and I've never heard it, and I have lots of feelings about it, but I mainly just think it's weird. That's where I'm at right now.
Brian, when I saw you post that TikTok, I was flabbergasted. I was speechless. I was like, he didn't even just say, go check out Disney Plus. Like, that's all you fucking had to say was like, hey, go check out Book of Boba Fett. It's on Disney Plus. Well, goodbye. Like, that's all he had to do. And instead he was like, I don't know, man. Wikipedia.
Right. It's just really strange. I'm pretty sure that's from Empire. We'll get it in the episode description. But like, it just, I don't know, man. Like, if you're going to tell a story, put it all in the one, I don't know, put it all in the one story, or make it easy to find that story and not, I don't know, like getting it from YouTube is going to be a completely different experience, but that's not how I like to experience my stories. But here we go. That's what the creators are saying. So anyway, thought that was interesting. Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to add here was there is no end for the Mandalorian. So this went back to Variety. No, I take it back. This is a Collider piece, and they got it from Total Film. There we go. And essentially, Jon Favreau says there's no end right now for the Mandalorian. So like they don't have a necessary like end point for the show. They don't know when it's gonna end. So this leads me to believe that Pedro Pascal he's gonna be stumbling around in that Mandalorian armor for like a decade around like a hot California desert, being like, I'm the Mandalorian, here we go.
That's hilarious.
That's it. That's like for the next decade of his life. That's what he's doing.
Which I feel like if I had the option, I would love to just pick and choose when I popped up in projects, right? Like what if each season kind of ends at a point where it could pick up at a different movie or a different option. Like it doesn't necessarily have to like be answered within the series. So I would like that option. Pick up a lightsaber when I choose to.
Yeah,
that's fine with me. Like, I mean, you could literally bring him back in a movie and no one would ever question it.
Nobody would care.
No.
Yeah. Do you think they'll ever kill him off?
I mean, possibly. I feel like that could be like the last season, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Mandalorian is just so mind-boggling popular across so many people. Too. Like, and I think the true sense of it is like even casual, like more casual fans, like probably people who have like a normal relationship to TV, right? For those folks who, not me, who is like this is the way. This is the way. Like they love it. Like it's a whole new, fresh community for Star Wars, which is what they've been wanting. I feel like for a while. So I feel like as long as those folks are engaged, this thing like sky's the limit.
Yeah. Go anywhere.
How do you think Pedro
Pascal?
Andrew. Who the hell is Andrew?
Yeah, I don't know who Andrew is. Maybe Andrew's.
Sorry, didn't mean to whitewash that man. Pedro Pascal. How do you think he picks his roles? Because so far he ain't missed. So what do you think or do you think he just brings something different to a role that makes a movie good? Or do you think he just has a nose or for like good projects to be a part of? Because name something that he been a part of that hasn't hit.
I mean,
like last 5 projects, maybe.
It's hard. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I mean, he's been in a lot. I also feel like that's a good point to make here. Like he had a bit part in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like that is how long this guy has been acting.
I mean, he's been around the block. I mean, his last few projects have been the Mandalorian, The Last of Us. I would say the only like movie that he did that maybe didn't hit, and it's because it was a Netflix movie, was The Bubble.
I haven't seen it.
But the bubble is very much him being like, let me just go here and make fun of me for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like, because he's playing a character actor who's real loosey-goosey, who's supposed to be comedic relief. But so, I mean, in terms of like the last few projects he did was Mandalorian, The Last of Us, The Bubble, House Comes with a Bird, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent,
of course.
Book of Boba Fett, Calls, which was a TV series, We Can Be Heroes, and then Wonder Woman 1984. Like that's the last few. Yeah. So there are some in there that flew under the radar, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw We Could Be Heroes. That's a Spy Kids. That's a Spy Kids movie.
I did
been off on Netflix. So it's a Spy. It's a very Roberto Rodriguez. Whatever his name is. Is there any more Mandalorian news?
No, those were the big 3 that I want. That was a big 3 I wanted. I'm
excited.
Here.
I'm excited for Mandalorian. I like There's No End. I like all of that.
When this podcast comes out, an episode will be available to stream on Disney Plus.
Oh, yes. Jesus. This Wednesday already?
Yeah, if you're listening to this means it's available.
Oh, God. Unless you're in the Patreon, which means you're listening early.
True.
Which means
you can't see shit yet.
Yeah.
You said it like it was an insult. Can I play a game with y'all?
Please.
Sure.
I'm going to play a game based off of a tweet I saw from Jess and Brian.
Okay.
So I made this up in my head. We're going to call this the Dempublicans or Republicrats. All right. I'm going to name MCU characters, and you're going to tell me if they're a Republican or a Democrat based off of the world in the MCU. And I encourage everybody listening to be a part of this in the comments as well.
Oh,
right? Man.
Give me some justification. All right.
We're doing
ready?
This.
I'm just going to go down. Ready?
Here we go.
Captain America. Let's start with Sam, since he's our current Captain America.
Oh, no, that guy's a Dem.
Okay.
through and through.
Doug?
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, I'd place him there.
Cap Steve Rogers.
Okay.
I will say this.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers is a libertarian. I don't think he's a Democratic or Republican. Steve Rogers is a get the government out of my fucking business.
Yeah, actually.
For the right reasons, baby.
Yeah.
But Steve Rogers is a libertarian. I just want to make that very clear.
I don't know, man. He's so far off the scopes. Like, because the dude went into ICE and like the United States was like, ration sugar and make sure you use the right gasoline that you have for the sticker on your car and we can beat the enemy. So like he had like all this collective stuff and then he pops out 60, 70 years later and people are like, I have a pocket computer.
With a black doctor. And he's like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be here.
So I don't know. I feel like he would be totally above politics. Like I feel like he would just be upset.
Black history,
people...
what?
Hold on. Is somebody supervising you?
They got a month? Who's your what are you doing here?
I don't need any coffee or cigarettes, thank you.
Oh my gosh. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Steve had to be shocked when he woke up, man. I'm just saying. Steve had to be like,
he's got some learning to do.
Nick Fury is in charge. He's like, oh my God, there's a black man in a leather jacket, and Nick Fury's in charge
with an eye patch.
What a wake up call.
So here's Steve Rogers. I believe that Steve Rogers is a libertarian for the right reasons, but that's where he is.
It's hard to
Tony.
argue. It's really hard to argue.
Tony Stark.
Oh, he's a Republican to the max.
Republican, like
Yeah,
painfully Republican.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Again, he's gonna tell you it's for the right reasons, but in the same way that they tell you that. It's
Oh,
for the
he's
right
gonna be the guy that's like, what? It's the free market. Everyone gets a fair shot.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like,
Yeah.
Sam
Just
Wilson's
because
like,
I
"Can
make
talk
all
to
of
you?"
my money
Doesn't mean I
from
was
killing other
spoon-fed.
people. I mean, it's that whole line from Iron Man 1. He's like, you know what? Military funding pays for crops that feeds hungry people.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know
right.
what you want me to tell
Yeah,
you.
what's
Yeah.
wrong with that?
My daddy only gave me $2 billion as a startup. It's like, all right, relax. All right, Wanda. I'm gonna go rapid fire. Wanda, Scarlet Witch.
Dem.
Okay, Vision. Oh, Doug, what'd you think about Wanda?
His face.
I think she's a little bit more right. She's a little bit. Okay. I'll give her a Democrat, but she's a more right. She's a social. She's a social.
Conservative Dem.
She's a social Democrat, but she's a fiduciary.
Yep.
Response. She's a small government person, so that's clearly Republican. But she's also like, love who you want to love. If I want to love a robot,
Yeah.
get the fuck out of my business.
That's true.
Yeah,
My
that's
body,
true.
my choice.
She's a socially responsible conservative.
Oh wow, Jesus. Okay. All right, Vision.
Ooh,
That guy would probably just think politics are a joke. And he's like, political parties are a joke. What are you doing?
To be fair, I do think that's a valid answer. Like, I think
Okay.
he's like, I don't understand. He's gonna go with the logical option. So I don't think
Yeah.
he's a party. I think he votes issue to issue.
Okay. Issue to issue. I like that. Bucky.
He's not a
Uh,
Republican.
I don't think so either.
He's
Like,
definitely not a Democrat, though.
no,
right?
he's not. He's like an anarchist.
He kind of is, to be
I'll
honest
take
with you. I think
I'll
that's
take
also a
I'll
fair
take
answer.
anarchist. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Hope.
Oh, she feels Republican.
She feels Republican because she owns a small business.
Oh my gosh, you're absolutely. She'd be like, "Well, it's a tax write-off. Like,
a
I don't
tax
understand what
write-off.
the big deal is."
She's
I was
also going to
thinking
say, this is what she's going to do. She's going to say, I will take big government's money if it helps me advance technology to do
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Hulk.
Ooh, I
Be
feel
careful
like-
here because I have a follow-up. Hulk.
I mean, wait.
If you're going to come back after and ask
big
me,
green monster Hulk,
Yeah.
or like, are we talking like?
Hulk.
smart comic book Hulk or smart Hulk?
Smart Hulk. I love this game.
I don't see him lining up with Tony. Like that's
I
that's
also
where I
don't
feel
either.
like
I don't
you
either.
have like the most right Avenger.
Mhm.
I just don't see him being like, yeah, you're right, Tony. I see him being like, Tony, you're an idiot. Like that's
could
the
see-
vibe I get.
I see Hulk like being a strong arm dim, like using muscle over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
Oh,
force
Hulk is
people to-
pro union.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
I don't know why
yeah,
that
yeah,
is, but
for
it
sure.
is.
Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner feels a little bit more like centrist
Yeah.
than
Oh my gosh,
Hulk
he's
does.
that guy at the party. He's like, well, I think both sides have good points.
He's a
and-
moderate.
I think he's
Yes.
moderate.
Ooh.
Yes, he's the
Oof.
worst.
All right. He's the most dangerous according to
He
Yes.
He's the most
He
dangerous.
won't pick a
Confirmed.
side.
Doctor
Yep.
Strange. Republican for sure.
I think so.
Republican.
I
for
think
sure.
so.
But there is that whole like, no, you're right.
Well,
It's-
he's poor.
It might be a little bit more like closer to the middle. Like he's not. I don't think he agrees with Tony.
He's reformed
Yeah.
Republican.
I
Like,
think
when he was rich, he was all about it. And then
Yeah.
after the surgery, he lost everything, and he's kind of like, "This how y'all living down here?"
But he also has this air of like, I turned myself into a sorcerer. Why
Yeah.
can't
He
you?
is a big.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's
Like-
the message I'm having a hard time squaring. Is the
Mm.
like pick yourself up by the bootstraps message because he's like,
Yeah.
if I can do it, everybody
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
That's the
Um,
only reason I put him in the Republican camp.
But here's the other thing, though. Would he say everybody could? Because I feel like he's arrogant enough to be like, not everybody could. I'm smart and special. Like, but yeah, I think you're probably right.
He would be the condescending guy that you're talking to that's like, well, this is this is what I do. You got to find your own thing.
He's either
that's what's special about it.
He's either like a socially conscious Republican, or
A
he's
pompous Democrat.
He's a waspy Democrat.
That's terrible. Oh yeah, real performative type guy.
Him and Wanda would just be like rolling their eyes at everybody.
He's the one who'd be like, I changed my spell color to green, red, and yellow for Black History Month.
That's what you all want, right?
Dormammu, I came to celebrate you because you're black, right?
Oh my gosh.
No,
we painted the Quinjet in black. What more do you want?
What more do you want? Come on. No, I can't give you a spell giving you reparations, but I damn sure would.
No, you have to take the reparations yourself.
Look, you go to Wundagar Mountain and you get all the special
we
herbs.
We can't give everybody them.
Yeah, because we all can't be Avengers. Somebody has to be avenged, and it'd be like, oof.
Somebody has to be avenged.
All right, wrapping it up. Rapid fire. Ant-Man.
Which one?
Hank.
Hank is a Republican.
Hank is a Republican.
Okay, yeah. Scott.
He's a Democrat.
Okay, Black Panther.
I mean,
I
feel like he's a Democrat.
Okay. If he did it, Dem.
But also, here's the thing.
He's his own kingdom.
He also would be in the Black Panther parties for different reasons.
I also think that there's a part of their Black Panther's hard to place because he's like, all right, this group of white people talks about how important I am, but won't do anything, and this group of white people feels like I don't matter. So,
he really wouldn't give a fuck about either side.
I feel like that's very much where
he wouldn't give a fuck about either side. All right, last three. Thor.
Ooh, I don't know. Thor ultimately is about doing the right thing.
Yeah, but his family
post Avenger Thor for sure.
Oh, post
original finding his worthiness Thor was definitely daddy's boy, daddy's money, like that kind of thing.
Post Avengers Thor, Dem. First Thor movie, Republican. That's not the answer.
Agreed.
But Loki.
I don't know. There's a part of me that's like Loki's a little bit more Dem than he is anything.
Really?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. He's more Dem than he thought he was. Like if you took a BuzzFeed test, like in high school, and he was like, you have democratic qualities.
Believe it or not, you're an anarchist.
Yeah.
Because he is very much like fuck the whole system. He's like the whole system is the problem.
He'd be running around with Bucky. Like
to be honest,
what are y'all doing with political parties? Like, let's blow stuff up.
All right, last two. Natasha Romanoff.
I feel like she's anti-big government. I feel like she's got to be a Democrat.
I mean,
you don't go into an indoctrination program as a child and come out on the other side. Like government's a great thing. Like
you got indoctrinated.
I feel like if we're talking Endgame Natasha, she's definitely not Republican. Like she's seen every system she's trusted like fall apart.
True.
But she did align herself with Tony in Civil War. So is there a portion of there are rules, there's restrictions?
Yeah, that
I don't know. Maybe she's more of a moderate. I don't know.
I feel like she would be in the Bucky Loki camp. Like
that's also possible.
I love hearing y'all think about this. Final person, Spider-Man.
He's a Dem.
He's a Dem.
That's easy for.
He's a new liberal too. Like he
would have voted for AOC.
For sure.
I would have no doubt about that.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with Zendaya.
But again,
she's not letting that shit slide.
Is this MCU Spider-Man or is this comic book Spider-Man?
I only went MCU.
Okay.
MCU.
Then MCU Spider-Man is a Dem because if you went comic book Spider-Man
Incorporated or what was it? Peter. Yeah.
Parker Industries.
That's definitely more Republican.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for playing. That's all.
I'm glad you had that. I have a piece of news. And I have a feeling it's going to kind of, I have two pieces of news. One is just a quick hit. First is Cocaine Bear apparently is interesting enough to almost dethrone the MCU at the box office.
I believe it.
It did really, really well. It came in second. It almost beat out Ant-Man. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get our Cocaine Bear inspired spinoffs.
Good.
Gentlemen, care to venture a guess as to what the next drug and animal is?
Yes, I know what it is. It's a crocodile.
Okay.
Alligator. And it is heroin.
What about like a cocaine crab? That would be scary.
My God.
Just, like
Oh
a
my
bunch of
God.
cocaine crabs, just like or PCP
That's intense.
piranhas. I
And
don't
if
know,
you
man.
need to see Cocaine Bear and you live in Vermilion, head over to Vermilion
Oh, no,
Theaters. They're
is-
probably
is-
Yeah,
cocaine.
shout
Is
out to the
Creed
Vermilion
3
theaters.
coming to Vermilion Theaters? That's what I need to know for the weekend.
Marcus, you're correct. It is Meth Gator is been
Meth
they
Gator.
it's been picked up by the Asylum, the same studio responsible for the Sharknado franchise. So we are going to get Meth Gator coming soon to a
I can't
theater
wait.
near you.
I can't wait. I'm so excited this movie did well.
I am
Honestly,
too.
I'm
Who-
really, I'm
who
really happy
directed
about
this?
it. Elizabeth
Uh,
Banks.
That's what I thought.
Like,
That's what I
yeah,
thought.
Yeah. So there you go. That's the quick hit news. The
Love it.
more serious piece of news
Oh, boy.
has to do
Oh,
with
no.
Disney World.
Mm,
Ladies and gentlemen, Disney World is a special property. Not just special because it's
It
the most
is.
magical place on earth,
it is.
but it's a special property because it has the ability to basically govern itself. Or
Its own tax district.
it did before what was announced today, which was the government in Florida. And this is the thing that here's the headline for the piece of news I'm about to give you.
Right.
Or the quick hit news is somehow Florida has made Disney an underdog because the government of Florida basically voted to dissolve all special, what was the word? To dissolve all independent special districts that were created prior to 1968. That would include Disney World. So now Disney World doesn't have the ability to govern itself the way that it did. Now it still will still keep all of the perks that the company has been able to keep track of their own land for the
Right.
past 50 years, but everything else you don't get to make the rules anymore. Florida does.
What does this
And
mean? I don't know what this means.
It
the reason-
taxes.
It's
I feel
taxes.
like.
It's taxes. And what has been Governor DeSantis's big crusade as of late? So if you had a hiring practice that allowed for more
Oh my
diverse
God.
voices that were present in the park, those go away. Like he's going to now take a microscope because remember, this was a whole crusade that he had over the agenda. This is a very political news piece.
Yeah, this is
sorry about
wild.
that, everybody. It is so this is a very much a spotlight on those particular issues for them going forward. And this is relevant because obviously the theme parks are there and there's a lot of crazy things happening there. Brian was just there.
Yeah.
But somehow all of the things that they were promising as a corporation to be able to do differently because of their special status, they're going to have to probably rethink.
Did that pass?
I believe that it did.
Yeah, it did.
Passed last year.
And I'm reading up on some of the summary of it. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of good pieces. I can't recommend the podcast. I don't remember which podcast I listened to, but essentially there's a ton of stuff out there of how Disney was able to govern themselves essentially for the past 60-ish years.
Yeah.
And essentially it was because of this special district. It was like a special water district is what they called it. And so
Disney's
essentially
Reedy Creek Improvement District.
yes. And they basically they had a 5 what they used to have was a 5-seat board for the government. That was the government they reported to, and that was all they needed to worry about. And so you needed to live there to be on this 5-seat council. Well, guess what? Disney pretty much decides who lives there and who doesn't on their land, so they can decide who gets to go into these spots. And so it was more of a formality. And the big thing that this bill does is it rips that provision out. A lot of the tax stuff stays. I thought a lot of the tax stuff was going to change, but from what I can understand, basically the governor gets to appoint the 5 people in that district now, which would cause problems if you were Disney.
So you want to build a new hotel? You want to build a new hotel? Stop pushing your woke agenda, and we'll approve it.
Oh my gosh, I'm dumber hearing this.
You're dumber hearing it, but it's a straight up thing that's going to happen.
No, it is. It is.
So I wanted to bring that to light because again, it's important we talk about this type of stuff. It's not necessarily movie news related, but Disney stuff is in our atmosphere of topics, and this is a relatively bigger thing that kind of flew under the radar.
I mean, what Disney can't fight back, right? I mean, what?
I mean,
what happens?
Here's the thing. They moved so many of their park operation stuff to Florida.
Right.
So it's almost essentially like you kind of have your own union down there to a certain extent, where they're like, hey, they're telling us that we can't do things. This is making Disney somehow the underdog, like Disney parks specifically the underdog, in the sense of like, you're going to literally turn every single person that went to that theme park or who loves living in Florida because of that theme park. You've got to feel at some point in time you've lost them because you're trying to oversee it. Like, it's just, there's a lot more here that'll have to play out in the coming weeks, months, years, whatever, but there's nothing that they can do to fight back. It's a law that takes away, there's not a lot they can do because it's a state law, but it's kind of nuts. To be fair, they kind of did, Stan. I mean, you're not wrong.
No, like, I mean, they totally.
I'm never going to fucking Florida. I've never been to Florida, and I have no intention of ever going to fucking Florida.
Twice.
It's a place.
I'm not going to Florida. There's nothing there for me.
If you're gonna go in February.
Sweating constantly.
Because July is dog shit. Like, it's the fucking worst.
July stops the racism too?
No, July is like, hey, because here's the thing. In February, you're just dealing with the racism. Like, and so like you can kind of handle it, right? Like, it's just
it's only some diet racism.
Guys, it's just institutional racism. Like, it's not okay. Like, it's
and nice water and oranges.
Yeah, and otherwise, there's a churro that you can enjoy. The problem
churros
with
and racism, that's crazy.
That's the name of this episode.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the problem with Florida is like in July, it's like, hey, do you want someone to turn a faucet of sweat to run down the crack of your ass from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed, plus racism? That's Jesus. That's a bridge.
You're telling me I gotta sweat and experience racism?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. I also think it's weird. Like, I'm not a political commentator. I'm a movie commentator, but like, I also think it's weird.
As am I.
I'm black, so I gotta pay attention to both.
I don't know, man. I'm not picking a fight with $1 billion mega conglomerate company before I run for president. That seems like I'm not good. Like, I don't do chess a lot, but that seems questionable
for somebody that's benefit. But Disney has gotten it right? Question mark, quote unquote. Right? They see that the thing that they've been doing that they care about works.
Right?
Why would you... Anyway?
Here's what I'm going to say. Why would you pick a fight with a company that can literally make you a villain in any one of the movies that they're going to put out? Argue free speech, and there's not a fucking thing you can do about it.
Yeah, Zootopia 2 is going to be all pictured around DeSantis, a little anteater trying to block AP African American Studies.
Don DeSantis as the villain.
That's it. That's all it is. And all you have to do is make him a rat, and you've made your point. Like, that's literally all you have to do.
Yeah,
I mean, and I think if you're looking at it from a movie standpoint, I mean, like, it very well could impact how they fund things and how money is there. I don't think it's going to get to the point where it's like, sorry, there's no more Marvel movies because of the special tax district is gone. I don't think it's going to get to that point, but no. I do think stuff is going to happen on the edges that they're going to try to isolate it. But there might be stuff that bubbles up. But I mean, Disney, they have they're one of the richest corporations. I'm sure they're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Well, and from a movie perspective, to your point, Brian, like you said, I don't think this is going to impact the movies that get made. It's going to impact the synergy that they try to have between the movies and their theme park. Like, it just means like if there's a strong back lead. That's not going to be a character you can meet at Disney World. Like that's literally. I mean,
that doesn't change anything.
I don't know.
I don't think that they can change that because if you have that character, which you have the freedom of speech to do, and the freedom, it's just you can't.
Yeah.
The hiring restrictions is the thing that gets like.
Oh yeah, that's the other one.
You know what I mean? Like, and it. anyway,
Yeah.
if there was equality from the jump, you wouldn't have needed the other law.
That's a fantastic
policy.
point. That's a fantastic point.
If the
Like,
shit was just a fair game from the jump, you
Yeah.
wouldn't need the shit. And everybody's now trying to pretend that we don't need that anymore. It doesn't happen. No, it still fucking happens, and it's y'all fault the shit happens.
and it's
So
worse
what the
in
fuck are we
July.
talking about? Government
Yeah.
is trying to control some shit. Government created the monster too. So what the fuck are we talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with how Disney releases stuff too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fuck DeSantis.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. That's yep. Any other news pieces that you all have?
No, I just got here.
I have one more piece that we could discuss if we want
Do it.
to.
Let her rip.
So, gentlemen, I'm seeing a rumor float around, and it relates to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
We saw that.
Yeah, we did last week. So there is a rumor that Kang is not dead, and there are folks who are now we are starting to turn our attention to Victor Timely. And
Yes.
Victor Timely, for those, again, spoiler alert, for Ant-Man and the Wasp, the post-credit scene has Mobius and Loki looking at Victor Timely in what looks like 1884.
Mhm.
And the thing that we are starting to bring to light is that Victor Timely is an alias for the Kang that we experience. He's not a different version. It's literally Kang jumps to a timeline like an old school timeline
Right.
and presents himself as Victor Timely. Like he's not, this isn't a variant. Like it is the Kang. So the rumor is that the Kang that made it out or got locked away got sent back in time and is presenting as Victor Timely.
I believe that because there was another video I saw that talked about the end of Loki season 1 when you see Kang, because it talked about how Kang already won, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That there is a conqueror because we see the statue in Loki season 1.
Yep.
There has to be some form of a Kang that exists already like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I would believe that no, he didn't die. Like, what's the rule, Brian? No blood, no body.
Hey, no body, no death. Like
No body, no death. So like,
yeah.
of course he's somewhere because it's a time. Like the movie was based
Yeah.
around time and quantumness things.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all I had. That
Tell
was
Victor
it. That was
Timely
it.
to destroy this timeline. Just start.
I
over.
mean,
Well, not the whole timeline.
keep us
know,
and our families, but destroy the Florida that one. Destroy that timeline.
I mean, or at least fix the racism.
yeah. All the black man jumping time to time and shit, and you ain't fixing the racism. You so worried about getting you whatever it is you lost back. Fix the racism.
I would also
use the time chair.
Yeah.
I would also like to point out, I didn't tell him to fix the heat. The
Fix the
racism
racism.
is
He
the
did.
problem.
The racism. Because if you fix the racism, the heat doesn't seem as bad. I only get more agitated
I
about
can
the heat because I
tolerate
gotta face
sweat.
the racism.
Yeah, I could tolerate sweat.
Yeah. Do the right thing.
There you go. Gentlemen, anything else that you all want to talk about for this particular episode?
I like how I just hopped in here and just started saying random shit.
Man.
That's
Nah,
the way to
man. I feel like man, I mean, honestly, we're gonna be rolling off of Last of Us, and then Mandalorian's gonna start. So that's my emotional
true.
support show handoff. So that's
That's
a big
true.
deal in my world.
I really, and Marcus just left again. He's
Yeah.
just like, fuck it.
That
I'm out.
figures.
That's fine. Let him go. What I'll say is that I'm actually really relieved that like Daredevil hasn't started yet. I don't know.
Did
what
y'all
happened.
kick me out of here for the black?
Nah, man. Nah, not me.
I don't know. I ain't like that.
No. I was saying like I'm really glad that Daredevil hasn't started yet because
Yeah.
there's no way I could
Yeah.
handle Daredevil, Last of Us, and The Mandalorian all at the same time.
Shout out to primetime TV coming back though, right? I was up waiting at 9 p.m. like for fucking Last of Us. And
Oh my gosh.
Also Zorro, putting it here on this podcast, right? I haven't checked on my TikTok lately, but
Manifested.
Zorro. I watched The Legend of Zorro and The Mask of Zorro, both on Netflix. Here's my ask. If you don't listen to anything else, listen to this part. We need another Zorro, more Zorro. I don't know if you place him in recent times. I don't think you could do it. I think Zorro is more of a time character because that's the way that he's set up. But I think there can be a continuation of some sort or some type of version, adaptation of Zorro. He had a son in The Legend of Zorro called Joaquin. I would love for either I keep calling this man Andrew Pascal, Pedro Pascal, or Oscar Isaac to play the new Zorro. in
Yes.
this
I
new
would be
rendition.
fine with that.
That'd be great.
Can I actually? I think I might want a modern day Zorro.
How do you do it though without it being Batman? The guy just uses swords. Zorro don't use guns, and he got a horse.
I think you take it the same way that you take the
Last of Us?
Assassin's Creed storyline, like from the video game,
Uh-huh.
which is this is a man exploring his history,
Mhm.
uncovers his history,
Oh.
his history, and realizes and uncovers all these memories of who he once was, unlocking things like in his DNA and who he
Mhm.
was. And that's how you can have all the other different Zorros influencing whoever's in modern times.
That's
And then you
interesting
put
take.
him in Florida and you have him fight everybody in Florida.
That was
I mean,
what a plot twist.
that's a
No.
great. I love it as
be
a plot
honest,
device.
Like you'd get like a little bit of like actiony Zorro stuff. You'd get a little bit of sci-fi. Like I feel like it could do. The Florida thing was a joke. Like you really could do a lot of different stuff.
No, we really do need him in Florida.
But seriously, go.
But yeah, there was like a futuristic Zorro cartoon show, and it was like it wasn't that good. But like, it's hard to do Zorro not in past times.
I don't know. I feel like I do feel like we need a renaissance of these mid-tier budget action movies.
Yeah.
I really feel that in my bones. We've talked about it with The Mummy. We've talked about it with National Treasure. And I feel like, and I promise this is gonna connect, but I feel like Cocaine Bear shows people that like they don't need a connected universe to enjoy something. Like there is a want for people to just like walk into a theater, like knock at the cabin and just be like, show me something fun.
Yeah.
And
like Silent Night.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like a new Zorro, a new Oceans, a new National Treasure, like all of that, a new Mummy, that would all fit the bill.
Agreed.
Like that would all work. And
save Oscar Isaac for the new Mummy. He
And-
can play Rick O'Connell.
Yeah,
and
that'd
then
be
put
amazing.
Pedro Pascal in Zorro.
and
That'd be
Mark,
great.
You all remember when Catherine Zeta-Jones was a sex symbol?
Oh,
You remember that?
How could
You
I
remember
forget?
when she was showing up in everything?
Oh, boy.
I-
She
I-
wore
I
long
do.
dresses that covered her ankles, and I was still just enthralled. It's a beautiful woman.
I remember people were
Probably a mom.
Wow.
What a
Wow.
full circle moment. And you know what I found
Wow.
out? We were right last podcast. Y'all got me
on
pinned. Y'all
Marcus's
know me
quest.
so well.
Oh my gosh.
I started evaluating myself, and I said, you know what? 30s and up.
I mean, she's definitely above that for sure.
She's 53.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
Catherine
also-
Zeta
Her
and Michael Douglas.
Yeah,
that's
are
true.
great.
Very
I
good.
almost would have
Chandra.
thought Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones because they had some good chemistry in Zorro. So
They
I
did.
was like, damn, like y'all was really kissing in that one scene.
They were feeling it. They were feeling it. I want you also to prompt that the statement we made on last week's podcast about being into older women prompted Brittany and I to dive into our phones about every actress Marcus has ever said is attractive and try to figure out like an average age.
What was it? What was the
Like
Haley
your average
Steinfeld
age is
probably
like
brought that average real far down.
Your average age is like 38. Like that. Like, your average age is
Yeah,
like
that
36
tracks.
to 38.
Man,
Like
what can I
with-
say?
with Haley Steinfeld and Zendaya being like the outliers, but like
Yep. Yep.
Hannah Waddingham is like 45.
Uh,
I mean Catherine Zeta-Jones is 53. Like it's those others that are just it's bringing your average down.
Yeah, that all
checks
makes sense.
Brian, that all makes sense.
Yeah, no, like I see the math adding up like down the column. And it's like, hit enter on the
That's all-
Excel
everything's in the
spreadsheet.
Excel
This
sheet.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
like,
Yep.
What can I say? I'm not ashamed. I love my mature
Don't
women.
be. Let that flag fly.
Let your freak.
Gentlemen, anything else that you all would like to chat about? Okay, great. We'll turn it over to the love nerds, Brian.
No,
Brian, plug that love
saw
nerd shit.
the image come up before I could say no, and I
like,
started
nope.
laughing. Is there anything else you want to talk about? The Love Nerds, thelovenerds.com. Hey, if you are regular listeners to the podcast, you already know what I'm going to say. But the thing I will say is that thelovenerds.com is a great place for all of your lifestyle blogging needs. It is a one-stop shop for recipes, creative ideas, and everything that you need to make your spring sprung. So go check out thelovenerds.com.
Word.
Marcus, anything that you'd like to plug?
I would like to plug MILFs. Now coming.
Trust me, they don't need to plug. They can plug themselves.
They don't need
the help.
They don't need any other promo.
The way I almost fell out of my chair with that graphic coming up.
I want to plug the mantra. You know what it is. Follow the mantra. Never offended. Always humble. We're pushing back our music release this month to next month so we can make sure we're doing it right. But currently working on new music. Have a new album that'll be coming out soon. We are not in the immediate future, but it will be coming out fairly soon this year. Working on a love album. It'll be called Somebody 2. If you haven't heard Somebody 1, that is a project that I did when I was on SoundCloud. It's still up and available if you ever want to go listen. Filled with love songs. Until then, continue to follow the mantra. Never offended. Always humble. Go buy yourself some gear at followthemantra.myspreadshop.com. And you want to go buy yourself something nice. Those Valentine's Day designs will be coming down at the end of February, and then we'll be putting something up somewhere in March. So make sure you get your gear, but above anything else, follow the mantra. Never offended. Always humble.
Woo, word. The thing I'd like to plug is this podcast.
Yes,
so if you enjoyed what you heard, share us with a friend. That's the best way for folks to hear more about us. So share the love with your friends. If you feel like you want to join the Patreon, head over to patreon.com/films in black and white. A lot of different options tier wise. Helps you become a producer of the show, helps you pick movies we're going to watch next week or in a couple weeks. We'll do an Ask Us Anything. You get to submit questions to us for that. So it'll be a lot of fun. So head over there, check that stuff out.
I want to play some music real quick.
Okay, please. Yes.
Okay.
But somebody got to talk because, you know, it does
Okay,
that
yep,
weird
it's
thing when
weird.
like-
Yep,
We can
yep.
talk.
Yeah.
So we are also going to, we've got,
Can you hear it?
it's good, yeah, so like this, yeah.
I got. I was just trying to dial in.
I was
Yeah,
also
yeah,
trying to dial in. We have a 3-step process to success. So, gentlemen, Brian.
Hey, folks. Look, nothing new here, but the one thing I do want to remind you is to read a book. And I can't tell you how many times reading a book is good for you. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for the people around you. Be the person that reads a book. Be that friend. Be that person. Read a book.
Word up. I
Marcus?
want the last one.
Okay. So the second step to success is to drink some water. Look, y'all, it's important. Stay hydrated. Treat yourself to some nice water. You know, you might be feeling like you got that taste of salt in your mouth. You need a glass of water. So just get yourself some water. Stay hydrated. It's good for you. It's good for the community. It's good for everybody. Drink your water. Marcus, relegate us to your third step.
Listen, this is one of my favorite steps ever. As February comes to a close, as you're listening to this, Black History Month may be over, and I want to thank you for celebrating what drinks more alcohol.
I love our community.
Alcohol
I
has
love our
water in
community.
it too, and we love that too.
It's a
okay?
part
So
of the process.
It is a part of the process. And if you drink Rumplemans, that's just as twice, right? Just as nice. So make sure you are washing your ass. Black History Month is coming to an end, okay? But that doesn't mean that it's ending. It's Black History Year, all right? And Women's Herstory Month is also beginning. So it don't stop here, all right? We don't stop the celebrations year round. The DeSantis can't come to this podcast and tell us what the fuck to do,
No,
okay?
he's not invited.
So that's all I really wanted to say was don't be like a stinky dick like DeSantis, okay? Wash your ass, put soap in there, run it down the crack of your ass, get a new towel, and start over. But yeah, wash your ass.
It's important. You need to do it. That does it for and MILFs. March.
MILF, sponsored, brought to you by Films in Black and White.
MILFs brought to you by Films in Black and White and Children.
And Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does it for this week's episode of Films in Black and White. We will be back next week with a fantabulous episode. So in the meantime and the between time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We'll catch y'all next week.
Not good.